more than half of all American workers today are Gen Z and Millennials. According to Deloitte Consulting, their number one concern is being seen, valued, and appreciated by their bosses. People are looking for the next opportunity. How can you engender loyalty in the corporate setting? How can you build morale? By showing gratitude to your employees.
Welcome to the Learn It All podcast, the show for today's leaders who want to get ahead and stay ahead because we believe great leaders aren't born or made, we're always in the making. I'm your host, Damon, 3-time best-selling author and CEO of Learn It, a live learning platform that's helped upskill over 2 million people. Joining me in a moment is Joel Zuckerman. Joel is a best-selling author, international speaker, and built a career writing about golf until one handwritten letter on gratitude completely changed his life. What began as a personal experiment grew into a calling for Joel, and he's now written nearly, get this, 300 letters of gratitude, inspiring his great book, Gratitude Tiger, which shows how the simple act of expressing your gratitude can transform the way we lead, connect, and live. In our conversation, we'll explore why you don't need to be a Navy SEAL or Olympian when it comes to inspiring others, how one handwritten letter of gratitude can literally change somebody's life, and we're going to talk about why it's never too soon to say thank you, and how a simple note can strengthen relationships, lift morale, and remind us what really matters in our lives.
You say that silent gratitude is basically useless. Why is it so important to express your gratitude?
You're quoting one of my favorite quotes from the last century author Gertrude Stein. Silent gratitude isn't much use to anyone. Or on the back of my stationery, because my whole expertise, for lack of a better term, comes from writing letters of gratitude. Another great quote from William Arthur Ward. Feeling gratitude and not expressing it is like wrapping a present and not giving it. Gratitude is meant to be shared. Everyone feels gratitude. When you get a benign medical diagnosis, oh my God, you're grateful. When your kid gets named captain of the team, you're grateful. That is called reactive gratitude. Proactive gratitude is when you share your gratitude with someone to whom you feel grateful. And that is turbo boosting concept of gratitude.
And you mentioned it a moment ago, when it comes to writing letters, you've written over 280 gratitude letters to people. Let's talk about that a little bit. What was the first one you wrote and how did it lead to so many?
Great question. Let me preface that by saying, to me, the ultimate manifestation of expressing gratitude is by writing letters of gratitude to people who have helped you along the path. And I'm sure our conversation will evolve and we'll talk about those managerial types, bosses, supervisors, business owners who don't have the time, the interest, or the bandwidth to write letters of gratitude, by how the efficacy of gratitude, showing gratitude, can help everyone in the corporate world. All right, that was a preview. How did I write my first letter? It was November of 2013. I picked up a famous self-help book. You and I would be thrilled to put our book sales together and do 1/8 of this book
180th.
sales. 180th, called Don't Sweat the Small Stuff, and it's all small stuff. Huge bestseller in the 90s, sold 30 million copies. And the book was a series of life hacks, literally 2-page, 3-page chapters, how to lead a better life. One of the chapters was called Write a Heartfelt Letter. So when I wrote, taking you back to this time, November of 2013, almost 12 years ago, I was a very busy author, freelance writer, professional speaker, speaking about golf. I was in the golf space. And I looked at this chapter and I thought, I can write a heartfelt letter. I can write all kinds of stuff. I can write memoir, interview, course reviews, restaurant reviews, whatever in my particular niche. So I thought of someone I wanted to write to, a business associate who helped me out a tremendous amount. I texted him for his address and I went to the computer and I typed out a letter that I printed. This is really key, Damon. When I wrote that letter, it never occurred to me I would write a second letter. It was just an intellectual exercise. Like, I can write a heartfelt letter. In my mind, I transposed it to write a letter of gratitude. And I thank this gentleman. He's a man about my age who helped me in my writing career, my golf and travel writing career. Went to the mailbox, dropped it in. And as I dropped it in the mailbox, I was overcome with this feeling of warmth and connectivity that surprised me. So I wrote another letter a week later, then another, then another. Then I wrote my sister, then I wrote my brother. And after a year, it was 25. After 2 years, it was 50. Then it was 100. When I wrote my 50th letter, I put in a little pinch of confetti in the envelope. The person who received the letter, I'm sure, was like, what is with this guy? But I was celebrating the 50th letter. And now, 12 years later, I'm up at over 285. In fact, before you and I started talking, I started composing a letter that I want to get in the mail tomorrow to a friend of mine who I feel grateful to know. And it's completely changed my life, made me a better person.
So once you started writing these letters, did you start interacting with people and start thinking, okay, I'm going to write this guy a letter or I'm not going to write this guy a letter? Did it become top of mind for you?
It's this career that I've developed. It's just so random that I've gotten into this. The first 20, 30, 40 letters I wrote were people from my past, my family, my wife, old friends, high school friends, grade school friends, college friends, reminiscing about the gratitude that I have for them having been in my lives. And then as life evolved and I met people and they would show me a kindness, provide a service, help me in some capacity, God knows what it might be. I've written letters to people that I will never see or speak to again. And I've written letters to people that I interact with daily, if not weekly. The act of writing letters of gratitude, and we'll get into this because this is the gist of it. Writing letters of gratitude benefits you, the writer. I'm not Mother Teresa. I'm not out to change the world. I'm out to change myself. And I find by writing letters of gratitude to others, it makes me feel good. That's the message of my new book, Gratitude Tiger. And that's the message of my professional speaking endeavors. It's as simple as that.
You know, when I was doing my research on you, it made me think about just walking down the street and, mailing my books out to somebody, putting the stamps on, writing a little message. And you walk away feeling accomplished and like you're just a little bit that much better, which is so cool. And when it comes to making yourself feel better, I mean, that's literally pillar one in your 7-pillar process. Can you walk us through all 7 pillars?
Normally I charge for this, but in your case, I'm going to happy to share it. So I'm kidding everyone. My keynote address is called the 7 Pillars of Expressive Gratitude. Pillar number 1, I just detailed. Writing letters of gratitude makes you, the letter writer, feel good. When I dropped that first letter in the mail, it didn't occur to me as I walked to the mailbox I would ever write a second letter. But when I put it in the mail, my first thought was, in 2 or 3 days, my buddy is going to open this and he's going to have very warm feelings towards me that I took the time and effort to type him. I don't handwrite these. I use the word processor. Tell him that I'm grateful to know him. So pillar number 1 is writing letters of gratitude makes you, the letter writer, feel good. Pillar number 2, painfully obvious. It makes the recipient feel good. Now, when I speak to an audience, I will belabor each pillar for a minute or two. But for the sake of time, I'll just go through them pretty quickly, or quickly by my sake. Well, quickly by my standards. Pillar number 3 is it makes the letter recipient feel good about you. Okay? Most people want to be liked. And when you send someone a letter of gratitude, their opinion of you isn't going down. Pillar number 4 is it's a creative process. I don't care if you're a novelist, a poet, a screenwriter, we all need more creativity. And whether you write 7 paragraphs like I do, 7 sentences, or as we'll get into, even 7 words of gratitude, it's a creative process. Pillar number 5, Damon, is it turns your focus outward. 5 words describe almost everyone in the world. What's in it for me? What's in it for me, my family, my business, my friend group? When you write a letter of gratitude to someone else, you're thinking about that other person. That's a huge emotional, psychological benefit. Pillar number 6 is the ripple effect. When you write someone a letter of gratitude, they might be so blown away, they decide to write a letter of gratitude to someone else. When they experience the benefit of getting it, you write your old college roommate. You haven't been in touch with him in 25 years. And you thank him for getting you through trig class or fraternity hijinks or whatever it might be. He'll think, oh my God, I should write my first boss. We've been out of touch for the last 15 years, but he really jump-started my career. So there's the ripple effect. 7th and finally, the legacy effect. 2 things can happen when you write a letter of gratitude. You die before the recipient does, or the recipient dies before you. Now, I've written so many letters that I've probably lost 20 people. Every time I hear someone passed away, I think, I'm glad I let them know that I was grateful for their presence in my life. So those are the 7 pillars. Writing letters of gratitude makes you feel good, makes the recipient feel good, makes the recipient feel good about you. It is a creative process. It turns your focus outward to the person you're writing to, the ripple effect, and the legacy effect, the 7 pillars.
So when you're on stage at a corporate event or even a cruise, what is a big aha moment or questions that you get asked from the participants in the audience about the 7 pillars?
My favorite question, and it comes up all the time, is, you've written 280 letters? I don't know 280 people. So that's a testament to my exclusivity. I don't like to let people drift away from me. I stay in touch. Grade school, high school, college, Wall Street, uh, Savannah, Georgia, where I lived for many years, Park City, Utah, where I live now, the golf industry. I like to keep people in my orbit. I'm an unusual person in more ways than just this. What I do when I speak, and in the book, Gratitude Tiger, is I don't expect anyone to get on my gratitude freight train. Okay? Maybe you're going to get on a gratitude choo choo, or maybe a gratitude handcar, where people might be inspired to write a letter or 2 or 3. But once you write the first one and you experience this connectivity, this warmth, you'll likely be compelled to write another letter. I've taken it to the extreme. As I chug towards 300 letters out the door, I expect no one to write 300 or even 100. But I hope that I can inspire people in the book or when they hear me speak to write a letter or 2 or 3. And maybe that begets 2 or 3 or 4 more. And then you take it from there.
So if I'm a listener, I'm sitting there and I'm saying, "Hey, this is fantastic," but I'm also a manager leading a team. I used to have 6 reports. Now I have 16 reports. I'm not like these 2 guys who could just sit around and write letters. And no matter how warm and fuzzy it makes me feel, what business impact does writing these letters or just sharing gratitude with somebody have from a business perspective?
Okay, let's launch. Enough with the appetizers and the bread course.
Let's bring it on.
Let's launch into the entree. Let's talk about gratitude in the workplace. First things first. So, everything I've told you up till now and everything I'll tell you after this is my own journey, my own gratitude journey, and I try to inspire people to get on their own journey. But let's bring in some credible facts and figures from Deloitte, Gallup polling. Okay. The first thing you need to know, Damon, is more than half of all American workers today are Gen Z and Millennials. And that cohort is growing by the day as more baby boomers retire. According to Deloitte Consulting, their number one concern, is being seen, valued, and appreciated by their bosses. I learned this years ago, 3 or 4 years ago. It blew me away because when I came into the workforce, your number one concern was how much you're getting paid. Come on. And number two, you couldn't bring it up in the first or even second interview, but how much vacation time am I getting in this job? But tick-tock goes the clock. I'm on my way out. Millennials and Gen Zs are in the prime of their career, and their number one concern is being seen, valued, and appreciated. Okay? One other fact for you, and then I'll dive in. Gallup tells us that fully half of all workers of all ages are ready to change jobs. Half of all workers. That company loyalty, that fealty to the firm, the factory. It wasn't even part of our generation, to be honest. It's really more our parents' generation. Work for 30 years, 40 years for the railroad, for the factory, for the law firm, and then you get your gold watch and your retirement dinner. That's gone the way of the Blu-ray disc and charcoal briquettes, okay? People are looking for the next opportunity. How can you engender loyalty in the corporate setting? How can you build morale? By showing gratitude to your employees. Now, you made a great point. You have 16 reports, 25 reports. There's a chapter in my new book called 7 Paragraphs, 7 Sentences, 7 Words. I write 7-paragraph letters of gratitude because I'm a professional writer and I'm very effusive and my letters are streams of consciousness. But most people don't have the time, the bandwidth, the energy, the desire. Most people don't want to show that kind of vulnerability. So you can do the same thing in 7 sentences. Emily Post, the etiquette expert, says you can write great thank you notes with 3 or 4 sentences. So 7 sentences is more than enough. But let me share with you how you can do this in 7 words. Okay? Let me catch my breath here. It's a soliloquy here on your podcast. Here's 7 words that'll blow away your reports. Blow away your better word, not underlings, tell me what's the word I'm looking for.
Teammates, team members.
Thank you. Your teammates, the guys who work for you, the guys and gals. Ready?
Let's do it.
Here's 3 or 4 examples of 7 words that will blow their doors off. You are the cog in the machine. This department would not run without you. You are the best hire we've made. Simple, powerful, pointed. And I ask audiences, Damon, who has a problem with employee retention? Everyone raises their hand. Most people. I say, no, you don't. You have a problem with employee defection. If it was employee retention, you wouldn't be, stressing about bringing new people on. If you show people a little bit of gratitude, you think about what I just told you about millennials and Gen Z. Number one concern being seen, valued, recognized by their superiors, by their bosses. You take the time to write 7 words of gratitude, doesn't have to be handwritten. Slack, text, email, interoffice memo, just hit them with a dose of gratitude, a little one, a powerful hypodermic needle full of gratitude once in a blue moon, and see if that doesn't engender loyalty.
Well, Joel, absolutely it does. But could you risk coming across as being inauthentic if you're sending somebody a message saying, this team couldn't run without you, or you're the best hire I've ever had, when they know, quite frankly, let's say they're a sales rep and their numbers are at the bottom of the list. Do you risk coming across as like, this guy's BSing me?
Well, you're asking me to think on my feet. I'm not that. Nobody calls me Twinkle Toes, but let's try this. I'm going to give you 7 words, and we're not wedded to 7. We can go all the way to 10. I'm sure your sales numbers will improve with time. Keep plugging away. You're going to rise to the top. You don't have to blow their doors off with what might appear to be, fake enthusiasm. And by the way, such a great segue that you just gave me. I was speaking to YPO, a Young Presidents Organization in San Diego not long ago. And the guy comes up to me afterwards. He goes, Joel, that stuff on gratitude in the workplace is so great, but I'm afraid that if I give them so much praise, they'll come after me for a raise. I said, all right, can you spare 7 words? You can spare 7 words. Can you spare 14? He goes, sure. I said, try this. You are the cog in the machine, but there is always room for improvement. He loved it. He goes, that's great. But Damon, you make a wonderful point. Not everyone is the star of your team. You can offer 7 words of gratitude or 10 words of gratitude that is also couched in encouraging terms, in coaching terms. Let's try another one off the top of my head.
I got one. Can I try one?
Go on.
Okay, because I had this guest on the show named Mike Robbins, who I played baseball against at Stanford back in the day. And funny story, last time I saw him was in a bench clearing brawl, Arizona State versus Stanford. And he does all he talks about now, well, not all, but a lot of it is appreciation versus recognition. And I love it. And it's right in line with what you talk about. So here's one. Hey, Joel, I just wanted to say I really appreciate how much effort you put in, and I know that you're going to hit your numbers. Keep working hard.
Man, come on. That's 25 words. We're trying to do 7.
Okay. Your turn now. Your turn.
No, I'm teasing. What you asked me before about questions people ask me right after I speak. Q&As usually last 10 to 20 minutes. Someone says to me, what's with the 7s, right? The 7 pillars of expressive gratitude, the chapter in the book that we've been talking about, 7 words, actually, the chapter is called 7 paragraphs, 7 sentences, 7 words. There's nothing hard and fast about 7 other than it's everyone's lucky number. It has a certain resonance when you say 7. It's not hard and fast. So, of course, I'm teasing. What you just said in a sentence or two is also appropriate. I'm just wedded to 7 because when you speak professionally, as you know, they can't rewatch it. They're not, it's not like let's rewind the show. I was distracted. I took a phone call. It's not like a book where you can reread the chapter. You want to give the audience little keys that are easier to remember, like 7 paragraphs, 7 sentences, 7 words, or the title of the presentation, the 7 pillars. So, of course, you can give it to them in a couple of sentences. All I suggest is that throw the gratitude at them one fell swoop with no other agenda. Don't write to one of your key people, you are the cog in the machine. Looking forward to the Peterson report by day's end. Let the Peterson report sit there for another hour and put that in another email. Just hit them with a dose of gratitude, or as you say, encouragement. Just that. An hour later, set a timer. Next day, after lunch, looking forward to hearing about the Penobscot report. But just hit them with the gratitude and see if that doesn't boost morale a micro inch or just a tinch.
I really like it. I mean, and if you're a leader out there who's super busy, and what Joel's saying here is you don't need to be a professional writer like Joel is. All of us can do it. And it could be simple. It could be as short as 7 words. My recommendation is to look at your team or look at your organization if you're a small business owner and maybe set aside one person a day and just shoot them a quick little note about either appreciating them or encouraging them. But that will go a long way. Now, I assume another mistake, because trust me, I've seen it myself. Another big mistake people make is that they use AI to write these.
Let's jump in, but let me just add to piggyback on what you just said, Damon. You only have to write your people once or twice, maybe 3 times a year, because as you said earlier, it will become disingenuous. So unless you're the CEO of a company with, they said the Campbell Soup CEO had conversations with all, 5,000 of his employees. Unless you have so many people, say you have a dozen, say you have 20, say you have 50, reach out to them at your convenience a couple of times a year. And it won't be a time suck of your other responsibilities. This is not a daily or weekly or even monthly thing. Literally every quarter or even biannually. Just hit them with a dose of gratitude. Might keep them in the company fold a little bit longer. It can't hurt.
I like how you brought up Doug Conant from Campbell Soup. I interviewed him about 6 months ago, and he said that he sent like over 30,000 letters over his, I don't know, 30, 40-year career. And he said it just had a tremendous impact, just short little notes to people about how they made them feel. And it made him, like you talk about, he felt so accomplished or just good about it.
It just makes, we could wax rhapsodic about this for the whole podcast, but you have to do it yourself. When I wrote that first letter in November 2013, it did not occur to me I would write a second letter. I was just checking off a box as a writer. I can write a letter. Like I said, it was called write a heartfelt letter. I renamed it in my head, write a letter of gratitude. I wasn't counting on the fact it would make me feel so good. So until you do it, so here's something I say when I speak. It's a little bit like helping an elderly person cross a street when you put a letter of gratitude in the mail. It's a little bit like giving precise directions to a frazzled passerby. Both of those things give you a microdose of feeling like you're a good person, no matter how good or bad you might be. You feel good about yourself for a moment. It's a little bit like that, but it's much, much more. I can't adequately describe it. You, the listener, has to do it. And you'll see what it's like to put a letter in the mail or in a backpack or on the bureau and connect with someone in a more permanent fashion, as a letter of gratitude allows you to do. Now, sorry for that preamble. In regards to AI, I'm not involved in AI. I have a chapter in the new book called AI. Ay. And what I mean by that is if you can't string together 7 words or a couple of sentences without help from ChatGPT, just go buy a Hallmark card. Just go buy a Blue Mountain greeting card. Aunt Edna used to give me one every Christmas with a $5 bill. Do the same thing. Not everyone has to write 10 books to be able to write a letter of gratitude. Write a note of gratitude. Write a sentence of gratitude, but let it come from the heart. Can AI give you an idea? I guess. I don't know. But I don't think it's necessary in this regard.
Did you really have an aunt named Edna?
We'll talk about this off camera.
Okay.
It's no one's business.
No one's business, but no, I love it. I would say at the end of the day, the AI use should stop at most giving ideas. But yeah, if you can't put together 7 words or 7 sentences, go get a Hallmark card. Because again,
Exactly.
people want to work for somebody who's authentic. And when they get a letter like that from you, or they get a message like that from you, you're just going to disappoint them if it just has M dashes in there and they know it's fake. Joel, we've talked a lot about, from a manager's perspective, but you also, when it comes to gratitude in the workplace, I think you got a really unique approach from the team members' perspective of how they could leverage that to help their career.
You're asking all the right things, my friend. This
I'm
chapter, this is not in the book. This is new information for me. So when I speak to groups, I talk about how a boss, supervisor, CEO, owner can use gratitude to affect positive change in the organization. Gratitude can also help the worker bee move up the chain of command. All right. This comes from Harvard. You remember Harvard Community College before they kicked out all the international students? There's a business school at Harvard, and they identified 4 archetypes of employee. Everyone wants the lovable star. Nobody wants the incompetent jerk. But the middle 2 are the lovable fool and the competent jerk. Who do managers want to promote? Is it the lovable fool or the competent jerk? The answer may surprise you. Harvard Business School professors identified the lovable fool as the one they want to promote more than the competent jerk. The reason being, he or she is already lovable. I can coach them up. I can mentor them. I can get them up to speed and they'll still be lovable. So, how to become more lovable? Let's start with being more likable. How do people become more likable? A outgoing personality helps. The willingness to bend over backwards and take extra shifts or assist above and beyond the call of duty makes you more likable. But let's face it, Damon, not everyone's wired that way. Not everyone is like you or me and can chit chat away and have something to say on any subject. And there's tens of millions who work is work. They've got obligations, family, health concerns, hobbies. They're happy to do what they were hired to do. So if you're not the life of the party and you're not willing to bend over backwards, how do you become more likable? Be more grateful. Thank your employer for the new responsibility. Thank them for giving you the chance to learn a new skill. Thank your coworker for covering for a shift for you or showing you the ropes on a program you didn't quite understand. Make a point of being grateful. That will make you more likable, which might in turn lead you to move up the chain. So that's my advice to those who are trying to work their way up the ladder, not those who are already most of the way to the top or are at the top.
And I think a good point in there is that also, if you're somebody who's trying to move up the ladder and you want to become more likable, it's to slow down a little bit sometimes and be intentional to say thank you. Say thank you to your boss or to maybe somebody on your team who maybe stepped in and helped you or anything like that. That goes a long way too. So just don't look past that because another chapter in your book, you talk about a serious accident you had in Peru. And a lot of times, people who I want you to share that story, but a lot of times people will think, well, I don't know what I have to be grateful for. I'm just working like a slave and barely covering the bills. But that's not necessarily the case, right?
You can always find something to be grateful for. And you know what? The more you practice gratitude, the more easily gratitude will come to you. Now, I want to make something very clear to your listeners. And I touched on this earlier. And the pillar number one is you write letters of gratitude for yourself, first and foremost. I have a tremendous number of negative personality traits that we all have. Impatience, irascibility, being judgmental, all the bad things and a bag of chips are within my purview. But I try to concentrate on gratitude and it helps ameliorate some of the rougher edges of my personality. Okay. So when life throws you difficulties, the chapter in my book that you're referring to is called Grateful When the World is Hateful. The book is called Gratitude Tiger. I detail the story of what happened to me in Peru in April of 2024, last year, about 16, 17 months ago, where I managed to snap my quadricep tendon hiking towards Machu Picchu and had a 48-hour evacuation, followed by emergency surgery. And it basically ruined the last 3 quarters of 2024. How do I find gratitude when my whole life, which is built around skiing and mountain biking and playing golf and living the Park City 60-something life, was taken from me? How do you find gratitude when I, to emergency evacuation, leave my wife and my friends behind in Peru, crutching around with a huge brace on my leg for a week, waiting for surgery, and then the 6 weeks after? it's not easy, right? You have to try and find, at least it's not life threatening. At least I'm back at home. At least I've got good medical care. At least it gives me time to finish the book more quickly than I might have had time to do Gratitude Tiger. And then I thought to myself, this is just tinsel on the trouble tree compared to people I know who are really dealing with a terrible hand. And the rest of that chapter, Damon, is about people I know who find gratitude despite having lost children, despite having incurable disease. There's 5 individuals I wrote about in that chapter, grateful when the world is hateful. One of them has recently passed away. She dealt with ALS for almost 6 years. And of the 5 individuals I wrote about in that chapter, she might have been the most grateful. College tennis player, traveled the world in her career in the hospitality industry, and then got laid low at age 58 and survived till age 65, losing more and more abilities till finally she couldn't even swallow. She, my friend Pam Graboff, who passed away in June, could find gratitude. I have a good friend here in Park City, Ron Jackenthal. His son died in a ski accident. He was an 18 and under slopestyle champion. He was only 16 and he was the 18 and under champion. And he lost his life, big air trick in Australia. His father, Ron, found gratitude with a nonprofit he founded called Live Like Sam, helping kids, at-risk youth with mental health and emotional disabilities with programming meant to teach them that even though in this age of social media and peer pressure, you can thrive. So these stories in the book about people who've paid the ultimate price, losing a child, being diagnosed with ALS, can find snippets of gratitude. That means we all can, despite our circumstance.
It brings up a story that reminds me. I remember when I was playing baseball at Arizona State, I had a bad day. I went 0 for 4, I think struck out 3 times, and I came home thinking, sorry me, how bad I felt for myself. And as I was getting out of my car, this gentleman who I'd see around he's also a student in a wheelchair, who I never spoke to before, ever, came up to me and he said, "Hey, Damon, how'd you do today?" And first of all, I had no idea he knew who I was, or did I play baseball. I swear this is a true story. And I said, I had a tough day, struck out a couple times, and didn't do well. We lost. And you know what he said? "Don't worry about it. You'll get it next time. See you around." And then he took off. And then, Joel, I said to myself, who in the hell am I to feel sorry for myself? Look at this guy and his situation and how he's making the best out of it. And that's what I love about what you talk about right there, where even in circumstances much worse than you and I hopefully ever have to deal with, these individuals found a way, like the gentleman who lost his son, to help and find gratitude elsewhere. I mean, that is so, so powerful.
I appreciate you saying that. And I realize I was in a bad way last year with this injury, but here I am in my mid 60s, and I've been lucky that, a couple of things here and there, but think of people we know and that have lost their lives or lost their family or lost their marriage or lost their home or went served time because of a stupid mistake. There's always going to be billions with a B of people much worse off than you. And there are always reasons to be grateful. And again, you become grateful for yourself. The letter writing that I espouse in Gratitude Tiger is, to me, the ultimate manifestation of gratitude. This one-on-one or occasionally two-on-one, if you're writing a couple, or, I've written some group letters. It's the ultimate manifestation of showing gratitude because I started our conversation with this thought. Everyone feels gratitude occasionally. Grateful their turbulent flight landed safely. Grateful the interstate is gridlocked and you're on the other side of the road. But it's only by expressing the gratitude to those in your orbit that you will feel as good as you can. And to me, writing letters of gratitude, whether they're 7 paragraphs, 7 sentences, or 7 words, is the ultimate manifestation of expressing gratitude. And it will change your life. And I want to add this. You didn't ask this question, but it's important. Think about people who speak for a living, okay? Around where I live, it's Olympians, it's Navy SEALs. There's some whack job in Salt Lake City called the Iron Cowboy, who I think once did 50 Ironman triathlons in 50 days in 50 states. Okay? God bless them. I say to a meeting planner, audiences can listen to an Olympian or a Navy SEAL and be inspired by what they've accomplished, but they can't do it. They can't aspire to it either. When I speak about the efficacy and enrichment of writing letters of gratitude, everyone can do it. Now, the reason I get booked is because I'm a talented and certainly entertaining speaker, but also because I've written nearly 300 letters of gratitude. But I encourage audiences to write 1 or 2 letters. Anyone can do what I do. When I start a presentation, Damon, one of the first questions I'll ask is, think of 2 people to whom you feel gratitude. One that's with you and one sadly no longer with you. This has a reflexive response in everyone in the audience. Everyone hopefully has someone they're grateful to and likely has lost someone they're grateful to. And then I'll say, it's too late to reach the person who's no longer with you, whether it was, God forbid, a spouse or a father, a grandfather, grandmother. So don't hesitate. Write the person that's still with you. Show them that you feel gratitude to them. So my message as a speaker is very approachable. Anyone can write a letter of gratitude. Anyone can write one. No one's going to write 300, except the aforementioned CEO of Campbell Foods. But that's what differentiates me. You can listen to me speak and be inspired to, I'm going to write a letter to my daughter. I'm going to write a letter to my aunt. She was like a mother to me. And that's how I hopefully impact in a positive way people who hear me speak or people who read Gratitude Tiger.
I want to flip the script on you here, Joel, as we close out. And you're coming off the stage or you're running into somebody who's read your book. Share with me some of the gratitude that you've received from your speeches, from the work you do around gratitude.
One example pops into mind. This podcast should be 6 hours long to cover this. I did something for a nonprofit in December, maybe, so about 8 months ago. There was a clergyman in the audience who I was introduced to briefly. It was not a big group. It might have been 25, 30 people. And the clergyman and I chatted for a few minutes. About 2 weeks later, I got a letter of gratitude from him. I could not have picked him out of a police lineup. I need to meet people a couple of times to, recognize them and, know who they are. I got a typewritten letter of gratitude from this clergyman who said, your presentation at that event really inspired me. I'm going to start writing letters of gratitude, beginning with you. So that, needless to say, made me feel good. And one other example, I was out with friends the other night on Labor Day. We went to a clam bake. And one of my good buddies, a scientist who bought my new book at a book signing, says to me, Joel, I've written my first letter of gratitude. And he pointed to his wife. And I go, oh, really? I said, I wrote my wife also. She was my 30th letter. So
I love it.
Little funny, but he wrote his first letter of gratitude to his wife. And I got around to writing my wife the 30th letter. And then I wrote her again probably 200 letters later. So my wife got the 30th and probably the 230th letters from me. It's all I can tell your audience, Damon, is it's an incredibly enriching hobby, and you will never regret writing a letter of gratitude.
So when people get done listening to this episode, what is one action you want them to take right away?
Book me to speak for a very high fee. Oh, besides that, I would urge them to think of two people to whom they are grateful. One that is with them, one no longer with them. Think about what you might have said to the person no longer with them in the week or the month or the year before they left you, before they passed. And don't hesitate. Write a letter of gratitude to the other person that reflexively popped into your mind. Because when I speak to an audience, I always quote Ralph Waldo Emerson, who said, "You can never do a kindness too soon, because you never know how soon it will be too late."
I love it. What a great place to end. So, Joel, where can our listeners connect with you at to book you for a high paying gig or get your book?
Or a low-paying gig, I don't care. I'll come to your Rotary Club for a lunch. No, that's a joke, by the way. Go to gratitudetiger.com, and that's the name of the new book, Gratitude Tiger. I keep things simple. The website and the book, exact same name. And there are numerous places to contact me on the website. You can see testimonials from where I speak. You can see the places I speak. You don't need to see videos because you've been suffering through this one for a long time, but there's video clips also. And gratitudetiger.com is the home for this whole enterprise, sordid and cockeyed as it may be.
Listeners, here's what I want you to do. You're most likely somebody who has people that report to you, people who might be overwhelmed or stressed with work right now. Get in the habit of writing them, whether it's a 7-word Slack message or a letter thanking them. And like Joel said, you only have to do this maybe, twice a year, but get in your habit of reaching out to people. It's really going to make them feel better. And more importantly, even, it's going to make you feel better. So do that. Go out and hire Joel, or at least buy his book. And if you want to do a little gratitude for us here at the Learn It All podcast, go on your favorite channel, like and subscribe, and write us a 7-word positive results feedback or whatever you want to say. So Joel, you've been awesome. Thank you, my friend. It's great to have you. And for the listeners out there, stay curious, keep learning, and have a great day.
I coach high-level leaders, and one of the things that I interview people and I want to understand is, do they own their stuff? Do they own their role in getting to where they are right now?